Hey guys, I'm sick with a sore throat, maybe the flu, I'm not really sure, but I'm on the mend. In the meantime, here's some old Venetian footage at 1-2. See ya. Raise and take it, no action. Get this hand away from me. Hey, that one's playable. But let's hit a bad board and do some weak passive, kinda check folding. Booyah! Pick up ace jack, isolate to 15 against passive bad players. And don't even have to see a flop. Take it down. No thank you. I raised from early position, and at first I didn't even realize that I got a call. He didn't have chips yet, and his cards were hidden in seat 1, so fairly invisible call. Good thing I didn't muck it. I have jacks, so color me felted, I guess. But the board comes not bad, only one overcard. So I c-bet for value and bluff protection. Does the trick. Take her down. I miss with 4s in a multi-way pot. Dump that. Check fold it. Open pretty small with ace queen. Miss the board, but do a delay c-bet and take it down. I flat call a 6 big blind open from fairly early position. Didn't want to re-raise because his range looks pretty strong. I flop top set. And I try to let him hang himself, but he keeps checking back. So finally on the river, I can't keep checking. It's not a great time to lead out, I realize, because part of his range just got there. And he's not checking aces and kings twice anyway. So I lead out and get raised from 17 to 55, I believe. And I agonize here for a little while. Basically, my hand is just really pretty. It's going to take me a minute here to release top set. And I'm trying to convince myself that there are some parts of his range that are not ace-king. Finally, I fail to convince myself. And I fold top set. It's not even a hero fold on this board where I lose to any random 9. And he says, you know I got it.
Okay. You know I had.
Yeah. Very good. Standard limp in with 5s. Flop a set on a wet board on the button. And make a medium-sized raise for value and protection.
22. Oh god. We're raised to 22.
Turns out they didn't want to continue that bad. Take it down.
Thank you.
Now, I'm just stealing here from the hijack or maybe middle position. I have 10 jack suited. There might be one player on my right that I'm isolating. And the pot goes multi-way. I get my hand caught in the cookie jar, but then the flop comes quite good for me. So switch into value betting mode. Kind of equity protection as well.
Sure.
Some people gave me the stink eye like I was stealing the pot, but turns out I actually had it. Who knew?
Thank you.
Now, there must have been a raise here because I love this hand on the button, and I passed in this instance. Thanks for all your questions for the Q&A vid. That was a lot of fun to make. I'll slowly compile more questions for the next Q&A. I decide to isolate a fishy tourist with 7-8 suited. He calls, we're heads up. The board gives me some showdown value. This time I decide to check. He leads out on the turn, and I beat you know, everything but the king, and somehow if he's limp calling pocket nines, tens, jacks, queens, I beat the draw that showed up on the turn. So I call. He bets twice as much on the river, just 20 bucks. And I take a while. I don't like it here because he's a fishy tourist. He's passive, and so when a passive player gets active, it's a tell about their hand strength. But finally, I decide that he could have ace high or a busted flush draw, and I pay him off, and he shows me king four, I believe, just total garbage king. So good for him. Okay, I overlimp with a suited gapper here because games are pretty transparent and easy. Flop a flush draw, on a paired board, but looks like nobody has anything. Checks around. I turn an up and downer, kind of a dirty, ignorant end of the up and downer. Technically a combo draw, lead out, and it seems to work. Take it down.
Thank you.
Moving on, I complete in the small blind with a fairly great hand, much more playable suited gapper. The board comes quite playable to me. Checks to the button, and he's been a little bit loose, and I'm gonna call him once here with second pair. And I say once, I'm gonna see what he does on the turn, and I kind of have a plan to bluff rivers because I've seen this guy bet second pair before, and so that river bluff would be to bluff him off of a chop. I don't like this call on my left, but he could have 10-8. Great turn in that it misses everyone and it checks around. Now, I'm taking the risk here that the guy on my left did not have a flush draw. I'm leading out actually to bluff the button off of a 7, off of a chop. That was a bit of a risky play, but it seems to work this time. Oh well.
Thank you.
Here we make a standard isolate over a couple of limpers, 15 bucks. Everything about this hand is going to be standard. Whoop-de-whoop. Suited big slick. Board comes down without pairing me. It's just about the best board that I could hit, barring Jack 10 of diamonds. Standard c-bet into one opponent. He looks like he hates his life and releases. I check in the big blind with 8 deuce. The action looks like the other guy has nothing. I make a couple of small bluffs to fold out ace high, and I get called by ace high. That's how you lose tiny pots. Booyah, MF. More tight action than I'm comfortable with. Fold to a raise out of the blinds. Raise jacks on the button. Pot goes heads up, full stacks. The flop is not ideal, but I don't love checking back just because it makes me very bluffable. And I can actually get called by worse by betting. So I go for one c-bet and shut down. And against a good player, that'll make me bluffable on the river, but he also has to represent his hand perfectly and not hit a jack and make a believable sizing, all of which happens, so I decide to fold on the river. Complete with ace 9. Miss everything and check fold. Make a value and isolation raise with queens and take her down.
We have a family fun.
Complete the small blind with queen jack offsuit. Flop comes down jack high, and so I lead out small just to get paid off by non-thinking players that are just like, oh, I have a pair, of course I'll pay you off.
Yeah. It is a small pot, but not that small.
Oh, I can't stop.
Big enough?
Six
Yeah.
players.
Seriously.
Turn fills one straight, but not the other couple of straights possible. I decide to, again, go for some fairly thin value here. So I lead out again, very aware that my hand is precarious. Immediately get raised from 15 to 60, and I'm done with this hand. He gets more action from the other side of the table, and I dump it and eventually see that one of them did have 5-7. Turn to straight. Meh. Not this time. I believe here we had a small raise to 6 or so in the field from middle position and a couple of calls, and I decided to squeeze with ace-queen offsuit here.
Not on the day game in Vegas.
I made it 30 and take down the whole pot. Tip pre-flop because there's a bunch of dead money.
Maybe. Probably.
Flop game.
No, mine
Till-
probably would have ran you down.
Yeah, it's one of the
Just
other.
right
Until the
hand for
flop
that.
came.
It's either until the flop came or once I see a good flop.
Yeah.
Alright, that's it for now. I'll see you guys next week when hopefully I feel better and my brother will be in town. Deuces. Also, here's my cat trying to have a fight club with a stray outside.